Hi, my name is Dave, and today I'm going to show you 4 charming and quirky little Unitron spotting scopes. Typical Unitron high quality all the way through, and very interesting differences between them. Here we have the Unitron 80mm. Comes in a very nice box. Here we have the little mini tripod included in the box. You can see that it has the distinctive Altaz controls for Unitron mount, very much as is found on the small Unitron astronomical telescopes. Here we have a clamp system. Again, some of the smaller Unitrons have a similar clamp. Anyway, that's the clamp system. This telescope features a revolving turret. Here's focus for it. And the revolving turret goes around like so, changes magnifications. You've got 20, 30, 40, and 60 power. 60 power is pretty high powered for a small scope like this, but it does work quite well, and it's of course superb at the lower powers. So there you have a very nice compact tabletop tripod and nice little Unitron 80mm refracting telescope. Now if you have a camera tripod and you want to use this on the camera tripod, you can do that. The little clamshell comes off, and you can, this is a standard 1/4 inch 20, and you can just mount that right onto a standard camera tripod. In fact, the whole thing comes off like so. This has a 1/4 inch 20 down here. So now you can put this on a camera tripod and use this in that mode also on a standard tripod. I wanted to show you how easy it is to adapt one of these 80mm scopes for astronomy. This is, as you can see, I've dismantled that little base. I've removed that, and now I have the top part with the nice little nifty Unitron Altaz. This happens to be a Bogan tripod, so I use this. It's a standard 1.25 inch. This will fit on any standard camera tripod. Happens to be a Bogan, so it takes this kind of an adapter for it. Okay, and now I have a good old Unitron Altaz type system, all set up, ready to go. And of course you can use it exactly like that if you want, and it'll work just fine, and especially for you know, things that are at a low altitude. You know, the angle here is fine for something at a low altitude, but what if you want to use it for something that's high up? And for astronomy, we're often using it, we're using telescopes to look at things up near the zenith, up there near the top of the sky. So if you want to do that, you're going to need to do a couple of things. First of all, let's raise the tripod a little bit, and you can get it up a little bit higher. And then let's remove this. And this thing is really nice. The design here is superb. It just unscrews. You loosen that up, this thing screws right out. Eventually. Now these little eyepiece holders are just screwed right in there. So you take one of those out, doesn't matter which one. Then you can remove the eyepieces. I've already removed several. Now you put this in. This turns out fits right in there. So now you could use the eyepiece. Well, the eyepieces, you don't have enough back focus here because it's expecting a longer, you know, some more optical path length here. So that won't quite work like that. But if you use a star diagonal, this happens to be a Unitron brand, but any brand would do. Use the star diagonal, and it turns out that the helical focuser on the Unitron is not quite, doesn't go quite far enough. So you're going to have to pull the diagonal back here a little bit to make it work. Or maybe pull that out just a little bit. It can be used just like that. And now you've got the perfect telescope for astronomy. You can look at something straight up. You've got the nice, really nice slow motion controls. Unitron has these delicious, absolutely superb, well manufactured, well made and well designed slow motion controls that help you just, you aim it at something and then you lock it down and then you can follow it across the sky. The nice thing about these slow motion controls is they're just right for something that's moving across the sky. Every once in a while you might have to tweak it. You go, just a little bit. That's all you want, is just a little bit, just to be able to follow it a little bit as as the sky appears to be moving, the Earth is rotating. This scope is wonderful. It's called a Comet Seeker Wide Field Telescope, Richest Field Telescope, all kinds of names for this. Very big aperture and very low or medium magnification. Perfect for looking at the moon or the Pleiades or any kind of, Andromeda. The Andromeda Galaxy is perfect in this. Scope is beautiful. You could also, if you wanted to, buy a hybrid diagonal. That is a diagonal that fits into the 965 and takes 1 1/4 eyepieces. Then you can use the nice, big, delicious Naglers and wonderful wide field eyepieces. Now you've got an astronomer's dream, because you've got a really wide field here, low magnification, lots of aperture, everything you need for really juicy, low power views, and something you can carry around in a backpack if you wanted to. So you've got a really nice little telescope for astronomy, as well as nature viewing and hunting and birding and all that kind of stuff. And I would highly recommend this telescope as a great general purpose telescope for those kinds of uses. Superb. The optics here are superb. Unitron 80mm. Can't beat the optics. Oh, let me show you how this goes back in the box. Putting one of these back in the box is a bit tricky. It's like a little jigsaw puzzle. You have to know which parts go where. Let's see, this has to be, first of all, this has to be, focuser has to be almost all the way down to fit. Okay, so now the scope's in. This thing goes in like so. Let's see. I think I can make it work like that. Nope, this pokes up too much. Okay, so there you go. Here we have something quite unique and rare. This is a Unitron spotter. I'll show you a few shots later on of them compared one to another. This is the 60mm Unitron, very rare. The 80mm is commonplace. So those are, you find those all the time, see them on eBay all the time. This is very rare indeed. You don't see many of these. This is a Unitron 60mm, has a sliding dew shield. This has the straight through image erecting phoroprism. And the tripod mount here is rather primitive compared to some of the others. Goes up and down, which is not very useful, really. I suppose it is if you're, sitting someplace or whatever. It gives you a little bit of flexibility. This is a friction clamp, and all it does is tighten down the azimuth. You can still rotate it, or tighten down the altitude. You can still rotate it in azimuth like so. This is pretty stiff anyway. The grease here is really old and I haven't bothered to re-grease it. And this comes with one eyepiece. I don't have the original eyepiece. As a matter of fact, I had to cannibalize the prism from another Unitron scope to put in here. And I, of course, found a Unitron eyepiece that works beautifully. It's a 25mm. It's probably better than the one that came with it. It's a Unitron eyepiece also. Anyway, it's a really nice eyepiece. Gives it a nice little 20 power spotting scope. Makes it into a nice 20 power spotting scope. Cute as can be. Very charming. Let's see if I can put it back, shall we? First you have to slide that. This is a bit tricky. You have to put this all the way down, like so. And then, with any luck at all, it will barely slip in there. There we go. This is another very unusual one, probably just about as rare as the Unitron 50mm. This is a Polarex. This is a 50mm, the other one was a 60mm. This is a Polarex 50mm, and it's got an interesting way of storing things here. The mount is quite similar to the 60mm, except there's no friction clutch for it. And oddly enough, it has a four-way kind of an eyepiece. Notice the focuser has a slightly different style to it here. You may not be able to tell, but the eyepieces are fixed in there. They're not interchangeable as with the others. Standard Unitron kind of a clamp. So it works like that. And there you have a cute little 50mm. I should put the dew shield on it, shouldn't I? Of course, Unitron and Polarex, same manufacturer, Nihon Seiko, Japanese manufacturer. But the Polarex was sold mostly in Europe. And the color difference here is interesting. This is quite a bit greener. Perhaps they considered to be camouflage to be more of a green kind of a color. This is a Unitron 70mm spotting scope. Very rare, very unusual. Has the sliding dew shield like so. And it comes on an Altaz mount on a tripod as compared with the other ones that are on tabletop mounts. It also only has the single eyepiece viewer, but it does come supplied with 3 eyepieces, and the powers here are anywhere from 16, 24, 36, and 60 power. 60 power is quite a lot for a little scope like this, but it does work. It's functional. And here's the focus, the helical focuser. When I got the scope, it didn't have this part here. I had to make this. I machined this in my shop and made that for it so that it would sit on this Unitron head, this Unitron tripod. I hope you've enjoyed my tour of these 4 Unitron spotting scopes. Thank you very much.